Another prerequisite that maybe we should be thinking about, and I want to keep track of time, is that we have to make a distinction between two words, easy words to remember, folks. Knowledge and guidance. There's two different things. Knowledge increases for a human being. When you're a child, you know very little. When you're 2, you know very little. When you're 3, you know a little bit more. When you're 4, you know a little bit more. When you're 40, you know more. When you're 41, you know more. When you're 70, you know more. When you're 75, you know even more. Your knowledge is constantly increasing. As your experience is increasing, as your reading is increasing, your knowledge is increasing. Knowledge doesn't go down, it only goes up. But guidance doesn't, it's not an upward chart. Guidance is up one day, down the next day, up one day, falls off a cliff the next day. It's heading in a really bad direction one day, it's making some progress in Ramadan, and after Eid something happens, and the chart looks very unstable when it comes to guidance. The chart for knowledge looks pretty good. The chart for knowledge is very unstable. What happens with Muslims, myself, everybody can happen, is that we forget that we don't come to the Quran first for knowledge. We come to the Quran first for guidance. And the thing is, we read something we've already read before. And what do we say? Oh, this khutbah is about Surah Al-Asr. I've heard Al-Asr a million times, man. I already know it. Yes, knowledge you already have. But the thing is, you can't say just because I already have knowledge, I already have guidance. Guidance doesn't work out. Guidance is like water. You don't say, last week I already have a glass of water. I don't want to do this again. Allah compares the Quran to rain, to water. He does this for a reason, because the earth needs to be nourished again, and nourished again, and nourished again. So actually, the second thing that will help me contemplate the Quran is I will understand that even though I'm learning from it, I'm getting knowledge from it, knowledge was never the goal. Actually, guidance was the goal. The knowledge is only being acquired not for interesting information. I'm not learning the i'rab of the Quran, or studying balagha, or studying different tafasir, and I'm not learning the technicalities and the ikhtilafat, the differences of the mufassirin on a surah, or in an ayah, or the different qira'at. I'm not learning all of that for interesting information that I can quote, or I can say I read this book, and this book, and this book, and this book. No, all of that is just a step to the real goal. I want guidance from Allah. That's why this book was sent. Not because of the information, but because what that information leads to. It leads to guidance. And my heart has to always be aware, when I'm studying anything, what is the guidance here from Allah? What does Allah want from me here? What is the goal? Because everything Allah says has a purpose, has an objective. And that objective, number one, is my own guidance. So this is the second prerequisite that will help you contemplate the Quran. Another prerequisite on top of that, now I'm going to compare it to the next, it's related to this second one, is thirst. I compared it to water, right? Water is not a luxury. It's not like, oh, when I get time, once in a month, I drink some water. You don't do that. Your body says, get up, drink something. Your body doesn't let you rest until it's nourished with water. It's a fundamental need for your existence, for my existence. The Quran is nourishment for my heart. And that heart, just like your body, needs to be replenished with water and cannot survive. I have to recognize that the engaging in the contemplation of the Quran, seeking guidance from the Quran, is not a luxury. It's not a spare time activity. It's not a when I get time. If I just develop this mindset that this is a need, like water is a need, I need this. One of the beautiful ways I can think about this, for myself even, is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wasn't just praying the 5 prayers, even the tahajjud, and much more prayer than we do. And in every single rak'ah, Allah has commanded him to recite what we recite, Ihdinas Siratal Mustaqim, the Fatiha in every rak'ah. Why is the one who is guiding all of humanity, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, why is he begging Allah for guidance so many times every single day? Every few minutes, every few hours, not even few, I don't even think few hours, within every hour. Constant, the most constant request from Allah's messenger to Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is guide me, guide us, and that includes him. So if our messenger is in such desperate need for Allah's guidance, then where do I stand? How can I think I already got it? Alhamdulillah, people say things like, I used to be really lost and then Allah guided me. Alhamdulillah, I have guidance now. Where do you have it? In your pocket? Where do you have it? You can't hold on to guidance. You can hold on to money. You can hold on to knowledge. You can have knowledge. You could have learned something last year, you still know it. You can't have guidance from last year and you still have it this year. You can't keep it. The only way to get it back is to replenish yourself. I have to replenish myself again, go back to Quran again, and get it again, and get it again, and get it again. And so the thirst has to be there. If I'm really going to contemplate Quran, then I have to have that thirst. And I pray Allah gives all of us that deep, genuine thirst in our heart, that we come to Allah with that humility, come to His Word with that humility. Then finally, just one quick and dangerous requirement is that the Word of Allah is beautiful, and the Word of Allah has a lot of wisdom, and the Word of Allah will make you feel in awe of the power of His words. But at the same time, the Word of Allah demands changes from you. When I actually contemplate the Word of Allah, I might find that the Quran is telling me to be here, but I'm all the way down here. When I really think about myself, I'm not where the Quran wants me to be. So I need to make a hijrah to where Allah wants me to be, right? And we're not perfect. You can't change overnight. You're not going to get here in the next day. You can make the intention and start making changes and start improving. Maybe you have really bad sleeping habits and you haven't been waking up to Fajr. Maybe that's the case. Okay, you tried the next day, you failed the day after that. Then you tried the next day, you failed the day after that. Okay, now you're starting to get up at maybe 7. Maybe it's working towards 6. You're getting in the habit of sleeping earlier and earlier. You're making changes. Good progress, right? It doesn't happen overnight. But when you start making these little changes, you might find that things are getting really difficult. First of all, making changes is hard anyway. It's inside of you. There's forces inside of you like laziness, like shaitan's waswasa, like your own desires, like your own, habits that say, come on, you don't have to go that much. You don't have to be so extreme. Take it easy on yourself. It's too much. You're doing too much. Allah knows you're human. It's okay. You can make your excuses to yourself, And so I love that you're only human. You're only human is shaitan's number one line. It's a very good sales pitch. You're only human. It's okay. You're not an angel. Don't worry about it. So I tell myself I don't have to make these changes, right? But even if I fight myself, I conquer myself, and I still start making those changes, then my family comes, hey, what's happening to you? Why are you becoming so extreme? You're only human. First you were telling yourself, now your family, you're only human. What do you think you are? Oh, you want to be an extremist? What's happening to you? Why does your face look like that? The girls are getting told, what are you putting on your head there? What's going on with you? I'm worried about you. The family starts worrying about you because you're becoming too Islamic. You're trying to get closer to what Allah says. And your family's worried. First you have to fight yourself. Now it feels like your family's at war with you. Then your friends are like, you're weird now. I don't want to hang out with you. Or you don't want to hang out with them because hanging out with them is what's taking you away from Allah to begin with, right? So basically what I'm saying is the more changes you make, the more isolated you become. The more changes you make, the more uncomfortable life gets. And at every step you're like, man, I could just turn back and life will become comfortable again. I could just take it easy. Why am I doing all of this, right? The people who can fight that discomfort, fight through it. This is sabr actually. This is what sabr is. If people can fight through it, they will taste something that nobody else ever tastes. وَمَنْ يُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ يَهْدِي قَلْبَهُ. Whoever really has faith in Allah, Allah guides their heart. They feel iman in their heart. They feel the sweetness of it. You have to go through some pain to feel its sweetness. You can't just read about it and feel it. You can't just hear a speech about it and feel it. You have to experience some pains and graduate past some obstacles. And then you can taste something. And once you have that taste, the struggle becomes easier. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَمَعَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ اللَّهُمَّ اجْعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. So that becomes easier. Fine. But that's one, and I pray that Allah makes us those kinds of people that can fight through the obstacles that are inside ourselves, with the people around us, with society, with all these pressures, just push through. You know? Sometimes young men come to me and say, Ustad, I don't know how people can live their life as a Muslim. Life as a Muslim in America is really hard. In England, it's really hard. Why is it hard? It's harder than Mecca? Harder than Quraysh? It's actually a lot easier. They didn't have halal restaurants. They didn't have lots of massages. They didn't, what's so hard? I don't understand what's so hard. No, it's so much fitna, really. Fitna just can't happen now. Back then, there was no fitna. Those were easy times. These are hard times. It's easier to be a Muslim now, even though you tell you, this is again shaitan, you're only human, it's so hard now. Look at all the social media, so much, but really just delete the app, bro. Easy. Problem solved. Problem solved, you know? So we tell ourselves it's too hard. Another group of people, there's one group of people, they fight through the change. Another group of people says, I want to change. I do. When I read the Quran and I find that it wants me to be here and I'm down here, I feel really bad, man. I even cry when the salah is happening. I cry when the khutbah is happening. Because I can see how far I am from where Allah wants me to be. I'm really messed up, I know. I really can't do it. But I feel really bad. That counts for something, right? Because I feel it. And we tell ourselves, you know, then you go to someone and say, brother, mashallah, just make dua that Allah gives me tawfiq. I don't have tawfiq. You know, some people are able to pray 5 times. I'm just not able to do it. You know, just make dua for me. Because, you know, some people Allah gives superpowers. I'm just human. Allah, I don't have it. You know, I've heard this tawfiq line so many times. I was like, who's this guy tawfiq everybody's looking for? That once they meet him, everything's going to be fine. As if Allah didn't make you capable. Allah would not have put anything on you if you weren't capable. This is a lie we tell ourselves. This is a lie I tell myself, you tell yourself. I can't do it. It's too much to ask. It's not too much to ask. If it was, Allah wouldn't have given it. Oh, it's too hard. No, actually the goal of Allah giving me guidance is to make life easier, not harder. And the last warning that I want to leave you with, we didn't get time to discuss the other things, but that's okay. Last warning I want to leave myself with and you with is not people who make the changes and fight the obstacles. And it's also not the people who make excuses and say it's too hard. I feel bad, but I can't do it. There's a third category that's the most dangerous of all. You know what they are? They engage with the Quran. They study the Quran. They recite the Quran and even recite it beautifully. They memorize it. They're listening to it in the car all the time. But they're not interested in any of its changes. They're interested in its tajweed. They're interested in its tafsir. They're interested in its balagha. They're interested in its miracles. They're interested in its interesting facts. They're interested in comparative religion. They're interested in, you know, this or that or the other. They're interested in gathering a lot of information about it. They're interested in calligraphy. They're doing a lot with the Quran, right? But what they do is they say, my relationship with the Quran, I'll pick one. My relationship with the Quran has to do with the tajweed of the Quran. So I'm going to perfect my tajweed. It's going to be so good. And tajweed is important. But that's all that is now. Now I'm a person of the Quran because my makharij are beautiful and I'm getting ijazat from a shaykh and all of it. But what I'm really doing is, at least I do this, right? So I don't have to do the change thing. Inside of myself, I've told myself, I have restricted my relationship with the Quran to within my comfort zone. Please listen to that carefully. I came up with a comfort zone, and I imposed that on the Quran, and I told the Quran, listen, I like how you sound, I love memorizing you, I even love listening to lectures about you, I love reading about you, I love reading translation and thinking about it, but this whole change business, this is where I draw the line. That's my life, let it be. I'll memorize a couple of your surahs though. So now we're dictating terms on what the relationship between ourselves and what the word of Allah should do. And all of those things that we do with the Quran are part of the Quran's rights, but they come second to the first one. The real reason the Quran came. And the reason that only gets enforced, proper recitation of the Quran reinforces the reminder of the Quran. The study of the Quran reinforces the reminder and the guidance of the Quran. All of those other things are amazing only because of the first purpose. That is, I need to bring changes in myself as Allah demands them. And this is the real thing. This is actually contemplating the Quran. It's a daring activity. And so since I'm out of time, I'm not able to share with you, at least this time, what is happening in Surah Muhammad, because actually the real call in Surah Muhammad was a call to change. There were people that were being asked to go to war for the first time. They weren't used to it. And what is this? Why do we have to go to war? And Allah posed a question to them. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ? Haven't they then contemplated Quran? These ayat did not come in the context of the skies and the earth. They did not come in the context of past nations. Those are all subjects in the Quran. Why is that here? Because now this newly formed community in Medina is being asked to do something that is very drastic in the name of Allah. And they're like reluctant to do it. And Allah is saying the only reason you're reluctant is because you haven't fulfilled the rights of contemplating the Quran, because some hearts have their own kinds of locks on them. So maybe inshallah at another point we can discuss these locks and these obstacles to really truly contemplating the word of Allah. I pray that Allah Azza wa Jalla gives me, you, and every believer a loving, genuine relationship with the Quran that continues to unlock our hearts. And I pray that Allah Azza wa Jalla accepts our faulty relationship, our broken relationship with His word, and gives us the strength to improve it as every day goes by, and really gives us the ultimate gift, a thirst, a real thirst for contemplating the word of Allah. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن الحكيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى، خصوصا على أفضلهم وخاتم النبيين محمد الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. قال الله عز وجل في كتابه الكريم بعد أن أقول أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. عباد الله رحمكم الله، اتقوا الله. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. أقم الصلاة إن الصلاة كانت على المؤمنين كتابا مكتوبا.